Hey, Shalom, Malcolm, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us His truth, and that's what teaching His truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all, I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamon from the Great Millstone Dallas Camp, coming back today with another lesson. And I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And I wanted to do a lesson, briefly in regarding to the Genius Act that was passed by Congress and it went on to Donald Trump's desk. I want to say yesterday, and I want to say that I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Donald Trump actually did sign it into law. And this is from naturalnews.com. All right. And as you read, it says Trump's Genius Act. All right. Trump's Genius Act sparks fears of CBDC, which CBDC is an acronym for central bank digital currencies. CBDC surveillance grid, as conservatives warn of digital slavery. All right, let's read that again. Trump's Genius Act sparks fears of CBDC surveillance grid as conservatives warn of digital slavery. And the ultimate form of digital slavery is going to be the mark of the beast. All right, the RFID microchip, which ultimately will have you tracked and traced on the grid, whereas you're not going to be able to hide anything from the global elite. They're going to know your every move. They're going to know your every thought, and this is just the beginning step. All right, this is the beginning. And I don't even want to use the word beginning because this infrastructure really has been in place for a while now. But you clearly see that they're moving quickly, as the scripture says in Revelation, that the devil shall come down with great wrath because he knows that he hath but a short time. All right, Esau knows that his time is short. So his plans to implement this Motb system, all right, and then at the end result, microchip everybody on the earth. That's what he wants to do. All right, he feels he needs to accomplish this before Yahweh Shai is sent back to return to deliver the elect and destroy them. You see, it's really in Esau's mind that he's going to be able to circumvent the prophecies. He really truly believes that, but it's the Lord putting it in his mind, just as he put it in Pharaoh's mind that he will be able, that pretty much he put it in Pharaoh's mind to chase Israel into the Red Sea. And ultimately he got destroyed. So you see this devil moving in haste. You see? Excuse me. It says here, as a matter of fact, let me get a quick precept real fast here. Let's get Habakkuk 2. I'm curious. Let's see what Habakkuk 2 says in the GNT. Curious to see how it's worded in the GNT. All right, this is Habakkuk chapter 2. All right, verse 2. It says, Yahweh gave me this answer. Write down clearly on tablets what I reveal to you, so that it can be read at a glance. All right, it says write down clearly on tablets that write down clearly on tablets what I reveal to you, so that it can be read at a glance. Put it in writing, because it is not yet time for it to come true. You see, there was one point where, these things that we're saying, beginning with the apostles on down, were quote unquote looked at by the average Israelite as a quote unquote myth. As a false prophecy. But these things, beginning with the apostles on down through the Holy Spirit, through the Rachakwadash, are coming to pass, man. And you can't say that you haven't been warned. That's why Yahweh Shai said that they should have now that I've come, now that I've came here, they're not going to have any cloak for their sin, right? It says, but the time is coming quickly, and what I show you will come true, right? It may seem slow in coming, but wait for it, right? it will certainly take place and it will not be delayed. See that? And these things are happening quickly. Very, very quickly, man. All right, so it says stable coins as a gateway to CBDCs, right? The Genius Act allows private banks to issue government-regulated stable coins. And now, what is a private bank? A private bank is your JP Morgan, your Wells Fargo, your Citibanks. Those are considered private banks, right? So the Genius Act allows private banks to issue government-regulated stable coins, right? But critics warn it's a backdoor to a central bank digital currency, enabling surveillance and financial control over citizens. See that? It's a backdoor to a central bank digital currency, enabling surveillance and financial control over citizens. Because when you have these banks that offer up these stable coins and things of that nature, that gives them full control over your bank account. You see? How do the stable coins get there? How is it being monitored? That goes to show you that they can what? They can cut you off at any given time. They can cut you off at any given time. Okay? It says surveillance and censorship risk. The bill imposes strict KYC/AML rules, which KYC, and I'm in the banking sector for what I do for work. KYC is know your customer, and AML is anti-money laundering. See, so you have know your customer rules, and know your customer rules is pretty much is regulated upon particular fraud measures based on spending patterns that your customer may do. If there's particular transactions that you notice that your customer doesn't do, you know, that flags a risk rule that could be set up in place, or an in fact rule that could be set in place. Whereas they can stop your card, they can restrict your card from working. And then what happens is that you get a text message that gets sent to your phone, a two-way text message that gets sent and says, hey, was this you? Yes or no? We noticed a particular spending habit or a particular score. You know, that every transaction has a what's called an in fact score. And I ain't trying to be all technical, but like I said, you know, I'm in that industry. But when I seen this, I immediately knew what that is, right? This the bill imposes strict KYC/AML rules, enabling real-time transaction monitoring, like I was just explaining, and allowing banks to freeze funds based on political or dissent-related spending, akin to Canada's 2022 crackdown. So if they deem you pretty much, you know, if there's political or dissent-related spending going on that doesn't line up to what the so-called political parties have intact, they could cut you off. Remember they did that with the whole January 6th riot, which that was all set up. You know, when they quote unquote stormed the Capitol building and things of that nature, that was all pre-planned and set up. Going to show you that they can cut you off. Federal oversight and economic concerns, it says, though framed as private sector innovation, pretty much peace and safety, the Fed retains control, raising fears. He had two horns like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon, raising fears of a transition to a CBDC, central bank digital currency, potentially expanding debt and masking a looming dollar collapse, which would ultimately lead to what? Ultimately lead to the fall of Babylon the Great, because that's what it's going to lead to when it's all said and done. When Babylon the Great falls, which is America, and all global trade is cut off, they're going to have to use this global trade system with a global currency, man. You see? It says debt-driven economic crisis. Stable coins may artificially prop up U.S. Treasury demand, right? Delaying a dollar crash, but ultimately leaving holders with worthless digital IOUs while tangible assets like gold retain value. You see, because gold and silver, all right, is true money. As a matter of fact, just to prove what I'm saying, I think it's in Genesis, the 13th chapter. Let me see. Yep, Genesis chapter 13, verse 2. It says, and Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. You see, that's ultimately what makes you rich, or that's what makes you wealthy. That's your substance. It's things of the earth. And that word rich, when you get it, is kabod. Okay, kabod. And you have it says to be heavy, be weighty, be grievous, be hard, be rich, be honorable, be glorious, be burdensome, be honored. Okay, so he was very, very heavy or honored, right? In silver, which that word silver is kasap, and then gold is zahab. And in cattle, all right, makwana, livestock, cattle, in general, of a purchasable domestic animal, cows, sheeps, the sheeps, man. Inside joke, you know, fallouts, you know, one body, man. We gotta care for the sheeps, man. Right? It says cows, sheep, goats, in herds and in flocks, and that's what made Abraham rich. Was reading in the NLT. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. Cause that's what's real money, not this tangible, not these you know, these dollars, these IOUs or these Federal Reserve notes, these FRNs. They're not backed by anything. Okay. It says warning and resistance strategies. It says experts urge converting cash. Urge converting cash to physical assets, gold, land, avoiding CBDC linked systems, and preparing for civil unrest as the BRICS nations shift away from the dollar, accelerating U.S. decline. You see that? Let's read that again. Experts urge converting cash to physical assets. Like you have people like Gerald Celente, Peter Schiff, these individuals who pretty much have been talking about the coming economic collapse for many years now. And to tell you to, you know, beginning with our apostles, though, you know, Apostle Tahar will tell you quick. You know, he was saying, he's been saying this for years, you know, and invest in gold and silver. I mean, mainly silver right now, because it's, you know, it's more, I don't want to use the word easier to get, you know, but it's more, there's a particular word I'm thinking of. It's more manageable or reasonable, I'd rather say, to get. You see? So it says experts urge converting cash to physical assets, gold and land, because that's what you see how land is thrown in there too. See, when you buy a house, it's not necessarily the house that you're paying for. You're paying for the property. I mean, of course, you're paying for the house too, but the main portion of what you're paying for is that land, that plot of land that the house is being built on. You see, avoiding CBDC linked systems, right, and preparing for civil unrest as the BRICS nations shift away from the dollar, accelerating U.S. decline. Because when these nations shift away from the dollar, what's that going to do? That's going to cause more dollars, all right, to come back to America, to be funneled back over here, which is going to cause what? You're going to have inflation, and then you're going to have what's called hyperinflation, which is when you have hyperinflation, when you have mass numbers of dollars in circulation, that's going to cause goods to increase and the price of goods to get higher and higher because the value of the dollar is getting weaker and weaker. That's what happened in the Weimar Republic. That's what happened in Zimbabwe. That's what happened in Venezuela. Okay? And that's going to come here. Trust and believe that's going to come here. You see, it says the Genius Act, a Trojan horse for CBDCs. And what is a Trojan horse? All right, a Trojan horse is pretty much when you go into the battle of Troy. Not the Battle of Troy, but, you know, when you watch, you know, the battle that happened within Troy, I'd rather say, with Troy, they had a Trojan horse, and they had pretty much, and I'm giving a very, very, very abridged breakdown of it, but pretty much they had a horse that entered into the city, but it pretty much had troops inside the horse, so they pretty much was able to infiltrate the city as a guise of peace. It says, at its core, I'm gonna get the scriptures. I'm just reading these points here. It says, at its core, the Genius Act grants major private banks the authority to issue government-related stablecoins. See, digital currencies pegged to traditional assets like the U.S. dollar. And what are you gonna have Bishop Nathaniel say? If you would have heard me closely, you morons, I said that there could possibly be a chip thrown in there. You see? This is what Bishop Nathaniel and all these guys are going to say. we've been saying that they could possibly do this. We've been saying it. See? It says proponents claim this will modernize the digital. Yeah, proponents claim this will modernize finance, but detractors see a more sinister idea. Okay, let's get Micah 2. A more sinister idea, man. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand, man. You see, it's a more sinister idea at work. It's a more, it's a system of control, man. You see? And what is this going to lead to? This is going to lead to the Motb. Okay? This is going to lead to the RFID microchip. Surveillance risks, censorship tools, and the Fed's role. You know? Now, let's read this part down here, the fallout. It says when the dollar inevitably crashes, stablecoin holders, i.e. the average American, right, will be left holding worthless digital IOUs while gold and silver retain real value. And what's going to happen when that? What are people going to do when that takes place? Well, 2 Esdras 15 tells you you're going to have, pretty much matter of fact, let me just get it real quick. All right, let's just get it. Hold up. There we go. Yep. 2 Esdras 15 and 16 in the GNT, it says there will be great political turmoil, and you already see that happening right now. But when all shit hits the fan, people ain't gonna want to hear about what the president has to say, or what this wing has to say, or what that wing has to say, what this party has to say, right? There will be great political turmoil with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. You're gonna have all these different rogue groups popping up. You see? There will no longer be free access to the cities because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. It's going to be all over the place, man. It's going to be a nationwide thing, and it's going to really be a worldwide thing, but it's going to mainly be here in America where it's going to be the worst. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, see, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. You're going to have all-out anarchy, man, taking place. There ain't going to be no food. There ain't gonna be no water. It's not gonna be no resources and medicine and things of that nature that people can get. So people are gonna start going back and reverting to the animalistic ways, man. Breaking and entering, robbing, murdering, mercilessly plunder their possessions, man. They're gonna do it by way of the sword, man. That's what's gonna come. That's what's gonna entail. Now, hold on one second. Now, I was able to type this in yesterday on ChatGPT. It says, could the Genius Act lead toward a cashless society, which could eventually lead to a microchip under the skin? And it says, yes, the Genius Act, depending on its actual content, could conceptually contribute toward a cashless society. And we just read its content very briefly. And it says, and that trend could eventually lead to technologies like microchips under the skin for identification and transactions. What's that? The microchip, man. He calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man may buy or sell, save he that hath the mark. All right? You have Revelation 13, Revelation 14, Revelation 16. Revelation 16 goes into that grievous sword that you'll receive if you get the mark, that cancerous sword. It says, here's a step-by-step breakdown of how such a progression could theoretically unfold. And this isn't, and the thing is that this mark of the beast, man, this RFID microchip is not a theory. You see, it's not a theory. It's a fact. Okay. Step 1, legislative push toward digital economy, example given, the Genius Act. If the Genius Act, which stands for government encouraging new ideas and ushering science, that's what the Genius Act means. Government encouraging new ideas and ushering Science. What's that science, man? What's that science? His lying wonders, like I said in 2 Thessalonians 2, man, his pseudoscience. Government encouraging new ideas and ushering science, man. And that science is gonna be what? It's gonna be a biology. Or biotechnology, excuse me, biotechnology. You see? Digital currency infrastructure, right? Government funded fintech innovation. Fintech is short for financial technologies. I'm in the financial technologies realm, and trust me, I know particular things they talk about. You know, and this is just a quick testimony. When I first started working at my current job, some years ago, I remember being in training for that, and they talked about the chip. They talked about it. They talked about how eventually technology, with the way technology is going, it will eventually lead to payments being made with your hand, payments being made with your body. And Yahweh Ba'Shem Shah is my witness. I remember when I heard that, I was like, man, we already know what the scriptures say, but that's it's clear as day. Expansion of biometric authentication or AI-based ID systems. You see, it could accelerate the adoption of cashless payments, CBDCs, and digital ID systems. That's why you have something called the Real ID. Mind you have the Real ID and the Genius Act being passed. What's that? Government encourage, man, that's crazy. I didn't know that. Government encouraging new ideas in ushering science. Science, right? Cashless society becomes the norm. A cashless society typically means all transactions are digital via cards, phones, apps, biometrics, and wearables. And you already have that wearables. There's that word wearables, and that's already taking place right now. Physical cash is phased out due to convenience, traceability, or policy. Governments and corporations promote this shift for security, anti-theft, and tracking purposes. You see, in the guise of peace and safety, more financial security, right? This creates a centralized control system where buying/selling is easily tracked and regulated. Step 3, introduction of bio-authentication. To secure and streamline digital access, more people may adopt facial recognition. Facial recognition is already used to unlock your phone. Fingerprint and retina scans. Wearables. RFK talked about that. Wearables. Every American will have a wearable by 2027. Smartwatches. Microchips under the skin for contactless payments and ID. Sweden, for example, already has voluntary microchip implants used for rail travel and office access. It's already happening, man. But these other camps they're not blowing the trumpet, man. They're dumb dogs that can't bark, man. Linking with biblical prophecy. Many link this trajectory with Revelation 13, 16, and 17, which speaks of a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. This is why some view legislation promoting digital ID and cashless systems as precursors to a global control system, possibly enforced through a mark, charagma, be it a chip, biometric ID, or digital token tied to your body. That's what it is, man. Tied to who you are. That's what this is all leading up to. The CO2 footprint, a social credit score. That's what this is all linked to. So while the Genius Act, right, government encouraging new ideas, government encouraging new ideas and ushering science. What was it? Ushering science. Government encouraging new ideas and ushering science. So while the Genius Act itself might be focused on innovation and modernization, it could lay groundwork for the decline of physical cash, the government-backed digital currencies, and ultimately a system where buying and selling is tied to a digital or implanted ID. This path aligns with prophetic interpretations of the end-time economic system described in Revelation. Boom! There it is right there, man. Okay? So you other camp, hey man, you guys following these other camps, IUIC, ISUPK, Wi-Fi, WFI, all these other camps that ain't teaching the right doctrine, man, hey, you better wake the hell up, man, and get with the program. Because those other camps is leading you to destruction, man. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Call hello, Yahweh, Bashem, Shai, Bashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth, and that's the teaching his truth. Much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Shalom.